As I mentioned before, President Trump today announced the temporary appointment of Bill Pulte as Director of National Intelligence. Pulte already has an administration job. He's the director of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, two government-backed mortgage suppliers. Pulte has no defense or intelligence experience. He has, however, clashed with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who, according to stories in Politico and the New York Times, threatened to punch Pulte in the face for trash-talking him to Trump. Pulte has also pushed flimsy mortgage investigations into Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook and California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff. This appointment can last 6 months. Here was the reaction from Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner, vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Mr. Pulte has absolutely no intelligence background. He has no national security background. The law was written to prevent this kind of appointment. What he does have is a record of manipulating public information, even as the housing czar, to try to pursue attacks against President Trump's enemies.
As mentioned before, Sam Vinograd right here. Sam, great to have you with us. You and I have had this conversation many times. Director of National Intelligence is an overlay bureaucracy born out of 9/11, but it has grown, but not grown in influence. And as I said in the open, if you can appoint Bill Pulte, you can appoint anyone.
Sure feels that way. When I read this, I actually thought it was a joke. And then when I realized that it was serious, I very quickly spoke with former colleagues, and we discussed the fact there's nothing funny about this.
No, there isn't. You're right.
The Director of National Intelligence serves a lot of different functions. The Director of National Intelligence is in charge of really overseeing 18 component parts of the U.S. intelligence community, ensuring that they are adapting and evolving to meet new threats, to integrate new technologies. The Director of National Intelligence is in charge of tens of thousands of people around the world who are not just collecting intelligence, but engaging in covert operations and also conducting really critical analysis that used to, I'm stressing the used to, drive decision-making by the president. Further, Major, the Director of National Intelligence is really the closest advisor to the president when it comes to intelligence. The DNI is supposed to brief the president every day in the president's daily brief, kick off National Security Council meetings, cabinet meetings, to provide the latest and greatest, the best analysis possible. I struggle to understand where Bill Pulte has qualifications for either of those key roles.
And he has another full-time job.
He sure does. And, you know, I've worked with, I think, 3 DNIs now. I can tell you, there are not enough hours in the day
to do that job,
to do the DNI job, even with a fully staffed intelligence community. We also have to keep in mind the DNI is overseeing an intelligence community that has really atrophied over the past year and a half. Many folks have left or been pushed out. There has been a reorganization under Tulsi Gabbard, getting rid of certain centers. Keep in mind, China and Russia, North Korea and Iran are not appointing individuals like Bill Pulte to run their intelligence communities. And so we are really at a disadvantage. And I really fear that best case scenario, it will take years to repair the damage done to the U.S. intelligence community.
And Ellie, feel free to jump in on this conversation, but I want to talk to Sam about recent events in Ukraine. On this network on Sunday on Face the Nation, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told Margaret Brennan, our colleague and moderator, he feared a massive Russian aerial attack. And in fact, it's happened in Kyiv and Dnipro and other parts. 22 people killed, 138 wounded. And Zelensky appealing for more anti-missile defenses and more help from the United States and Europe. Evaluate.
What I evaluate is it is a sad state of affairs when the president of Ukraine has to basically go on television and make these public pleas for air defense capabilities. It is a fact that the United States is running relatively low on the interceptors that Ukraine needs, not only because they have been so significantly used, and Ellie is expert on this, in the war against Iran, but military assistance for Ukraine has been diminished and under pressure under this administration, and Ukraine is in dire straits when it comes to the air defense capabilities that it needs, and Vladimir Putin is really exploiting that.
Ellie, the perspective from the Pentagon.
Since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, the president of Ukraine has said air defense and ammunition. That's what I need. And since the beginning, the Pentagon really created a Ukraine Defense Contact Group under the Biden administration to kind of get these materials to Ukraine. Since the Trump administration came in, they've reevaluated that. Now the Iran war has started, and there's looking to the
and
future.
taking precedent.
And looking to the future on what will the U.S. need in future fights. As Sam said, they've used a lot of these Patriot interceptors during the Iran conflict, and that's specifically what Ukrainian President Zelensky is asking for to defend the people of his country.
Very much on the mind of Ukrainians and Europe writ large. Sam Vinograd, Ellie Watson, great to have you with us. Thank you so very much.